Okay everyone, this is going to be a video about training the core, training for abdominal strength, trunk strength, whatever you want to call it. And it's going to be like a bit of a ramble because I haven't really pre-thought what I was going to say. And I'm very used to talking in an academic environment where I will get lots of evidence from papers and I will have everything to back it up. And I've certainly read those pieces of information, but this is kind of coming from my experiences and from my knowledge rather than from like a text or from a journal. And I wanted to just open your eyes about training the core and the trunk a little bit more, because I quite often see people coming, especially riders, becoming a bit transfixed with core. And that's a good thing because you certainly do need to have a good core. But I think we need to just make sure that like we're training our core athletically and not necessarily aesthetically. And I see a lot of core articles on riders being very like posture based, and that's great. Yeah, you do need to have good posture, she says, sitting here like a slunched potato. Particularly obviously in your dressage discipline, but you also need to have a really strong, really reactive core. Think about, a jockey going over some hurdles, or think about an event rider going down a drop jump, or if your horse suddenly, excuse my pajamas, if your horse suddenly bolts or spooks or shies, or misjudges a jump and takes a stride early or late, or any of those things. That's not posture related, that's strength and reactive strength. So we need to train those things too. So the type of core training I might get you to do might be different depending on the discipline that you're involved with. Again, think of like a barrel racer going around barrels or anything like that. I just want us to get just think about it in a more general picture. So when I'm training core, sometimes you might look at a program and think, well, there's not much core in that. And actually, there's probably more than you think. Actually, you get more activation in sort of the transverse and rectus abdominis when you're doing a heavy squat than you actually do doing some of the Pilates exercises. And I know you have to work up to that point, but sometimes there are other ways to activate the core. So things like, when you're doing plyometrics, so I know everyone hates the burpees, but they're a great core exercise. Any sort of plyometric exercise, anything where there's jumps included, so like jumping off the box, jumping off a box back to a box. I mean, for riders, the drop is the landing on the drop is probably more important than jumping up, because you don't necessarily need explosive power, so the height of the jump isn't necessarily important, but being able to control the trunk. So if you watch someone jump off a box, typically what you'll see is they'll do that sort of like hinge movement. And so what we can start to practice is getting a little bit of hip engagement and then keeping the torso upright and practicing that sort of stable upper body position. And then you can start to progress that. So you might start with something as simple as a burpee, and then you might progress it to a jump drop, so you jump down, and then a stabilisation. And then you might progress that further to like jumping off a box and then jumping forward, so you've got to control your core twice, a bit like if you were jumping a double combination or something. And then you can start to do things that work on the cross sling. So when I'm doing your programming, I usually always program something single leg and something single armed, because that works on the anti-rotation. So you need your core, might not be an ab exercise, but you need the core to offset that anti-rotation. So something like a single arm, even single arm shoulder press. So even in your lunge progressions, you might do a lunge with no weight, lunge with dumbbells, lunge with barbell. Then you might go on to progressions with one arm up, one arm down, or double overhead, because overhead also engages the core further. So anything like that. And then your very final sort of skill-based stages with the core might be like a reactive core training. So for example, there's loads of examples, but it could be as simple as doing a plank and have someone pushing you, but you don't know where they're going to push you from. Or you could get bands and get a boyfriend, partner, friend, whatever, to attach the band either around your trunk, around your shoulders, wherever, and pull you when you're not expecting it. So then you have to be strong with the unexpected situation, and that's something that I do with riders a lot as well. And you could do that with the jump, so you could jump off the box or even just jump forward, and then somebody could pull the bands that are around you. I wouldn't encourage you to have them in your hands, because you don't want to pull back on the hand, which is what you're going to do if you've got bands in your hands. So I always put bands, like resistance bands, I attach them around people's shoulders, around their legs, or around the hips, and just when they're not expecting it, just yank it. Because the good thing, BOSU balls and stability balls are great, and I use them a lot, but they also are predictable. So if I sat you in a room all day with a stability ball, you'd be better on it in the evening than you would have done in the morning. You haven't got any stronger. In fact, you've probably got weaker from a bit of fatigue. You've just got better at the skill. And so adding a bit of reactive core training in can take away the predictability and make it a bit more difficult. So that's a little bit of a ramble. I can certainly go into that in more information, but I just wanted you to start thinking about different types of exercises, and there are exercises I wouldn't do with all of you. For example, like I personally think a clean, so when you lift the bar off the floor and you catch like this, you might think, how on earth is that related to riding at all? But if you think about the pure isometric strength you need to be able to hold a catch without tipping forwards, that would be perfect for riders. But the problem is that the move itself is so technical that its worth versus the amount of time you probably need to put in the exercise isn't warranted, and therefore I'd probably get you to do a jump instead that would have a similar activation. So I tend to focus on that sort of training and then do it in your programs, and then I have additional core training sessions on the outside, and then the training progressions for the core would increase to more sport specific, if that's what we want to call it. Dog snoring. And more sport specific modifications as you sort of get further and more towards competition prep. So we do more skill based stuff, like landing on one leg, landing on another, landing on one leg doing something, things like that. So I hope that's just given you a bit of food for thought. If you've got any questions, post them below and I will answer them as best I can. Okay, see you soon for the Q&A. It is coming, I promise. Bye.